ThoughtFLOW Thursday. It feels like it's been forever since we've done one on Thursday. Hello, hello. So I am so glad to be here on a Thursday night during this extremely historical week. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Karen. Such a big week. I would love to tell you that I was riveted to the congressional performance, but I had issues, of course, and we'll talk about them as soon as my partner in parlance joins us here on the screen. I'm working on it. Let's see if that works. I'm not on my iPad today because that's been a bust lately. So here we are. Hello, lovely.
How are you?
Oh, I have so much to say. How about you?
I am good. There was something I was going to say and it just left my head.
That's okay.
I'm going to be honest, I am a little tired.
Oh my gosh, this week has been the week of 1,000 weeks. Hi, Annie.
I started doing hardcore cardio again this week, and I'm like,
I mean, do you hate yourself?
I don't, but I had a session with James yesterday, and I think he tried to kill me.
Oh, now you know what it's like. Go figure.
With all the love in the world, but I was like, you know how like you have a session, we all, like if you teach Pilates or movement, you kind of are hardwired to know what like 55 to 60 minutes is. And so literally I was like, oh yeah, we must be getting to the hour. And so he kind of paused and he went, okay, let's break these sequences down. And I was like, okay.
Hello.
I'm like, aren't we at the hour? And whenever a teacher says, let's break these sequences down,
That's never a good sign.
They're looking for, I want to know that you understand it. I want to see that you understand it. I want to feel it in my bones that you understand it. So I had to catch myself, before you kind of let your energy die, because you're like, ooh, I must be at the hour. And I was like, yes, let's break these.
I can't wait. And in your head, you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I woke up and jumped on my elliptical for 40 minutes. Because I can't spend like weeks getting back up to my 20 miles on my bike. I can't spend weeks getting there. I need to just get there.
Well, you can't because, I mean, you still have 6 more months of winter in Chicago. I mean, there's no rush.
No, this is monsoon season.
Okay. Do you bike in monsoons? You should get a canoe.
Every time we talk about bikes, all I think about is the squirrel that attacked your tire.
He didn't attack my tire. He attacked me and my soul. I just happened to be on a bike, and he just happened to hit the tire. I don't know a whole lot of people that have had squirrel accidents while bicycling, but I like to try new things at all times. Hopefully that's a one-time experience. It's fake spring number 4 in Buffalo right now, Annie says. Yeah, we're directly south of you. I think it's supposed to snow this weekend, which I feel is insulting and rude. Rude?
Oh, where's that groundhog? Redo.
Freaking rat. Disgusting. I'm over winter. I'm so sick of it.
It's not good, but yeah, I live in the Midwest, so.
Oh, what tea am I drinking? This is a tea that I got in Hawaii. It's something about honey, cherry, coffee tea.
Mary?
Yeah. No, Mary. No time for Mary. So I'm tired. I need a little lift. So here we are. Oh, and I have to show you. I rarely use this when we're on, but I love this little set. It was made in somewhere else. I can't remember right now. I'll remember halfway through the conversation.
So Orion, he is infatuated with this guy on YouTube, and all he does is like, he talks about the ironies in everyday phrasing. And so one of his is, so do people in China say made down the road?
No. I'm sure that they do not say that. I'm sure. Yes, made in somewhere else. I mean, I think it was made in Bhutan, but I'm not sure.
Made down the road.
I had to catch myself and tell myself not to look at the bottom of it because I'd then pour it all over my desk, which is also inappropriate. But when you're this tired, stuff happens. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
So, Nicky, darling, as I was saying in our lead-in, it's been a very historical week. And peeps, we have a lot to say, and we want to hear what you have to say too. Let's talk about
I have my papers.
She brought notes.
I did.
She's got the receipts. She's not afraid to use them. Let's talk about KPJ. Can we do this?
So first of all, let's just talk about this. Y'all, she is 51 years old. That's it. Right, sips tea, literally. She's 51 years old. And, you know, right about now, if I hadn't had that session with James, I might be thinking, what am I doing with my life? But I
mean, I think that every day, but I mean, therapy is after this call.
So that is the thing that is so striking to me, because she is 51 years old. And
meaning that she has accomplished a hell of a lot in 51 years. While we're sitting around spinning on our office chairs, you and me, I mean, she's pretty much gotten to the pinnacle of her career.
And has done so many different, like, she didn't just leave law school and work for the firm that hired her and just go, oh yeah, I'm good, and you know, just I'll just try to be a partner in this firm. She's so multifaceted, even within what she's experienced as an attorney and as a judge. Because, you know, just for the record, she is qualified. She actually is a judge. She did do the stuff to get her here.
Not a sympathy hire. You can't go that far in your career as simply an affirmative action hire or whatever. So if we could just strike that from the conversation, or even the mindset, it's impossible. Period. Continue.
As a side note, just to give a sense of, which I didn't even know this, that most of those who sit on the Supreme Court are from Catholic schools.
Private schools.
Yes, but specific private schools.
Of course.
So I was in terms of religion, and so I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, and we were discussing Harvard. We were discussing HBCUs, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize Howard was." We were having this conversation when we went to dinner when you were here with Aaron and Portia, and I did not realize that Howard was considered an Ivy League. Why do I say that? Because, of course, I don't think a lot of people realize that it's considered an Ivy League school. That being said, my son has said he wants to go to Harvard because it's the best school. And so a friend of mine was saying, the thing that I find interesting, this is a white woman, and she said, the thing that I find interesting about a school like Harvard is it's not just that you're experiencing levels of racism, but it's that you're experiencing it from people who really, they have no experience in the world, because a lot of them, if they come from money and, really, really affluent wealth, they live in this bubble where they've always lived, and they've always had this sort of upper echelon experience. She's like, so even their views on racism, even if they're, against racism, it's so skewed because they're speaking from this place where it just didn't touch them.
They've literally not experienced it. Like when you hear people say, oh, I've never experienced racism, and you're like, oh yeah, what truck did you just ride in on? People at certain echelons wouldn't experience it because they've literally never been in a situation where they would even casually bump up against it.
Right. So when they were speaking about the justices predominantly having come from this very specific background, I was like, oh, I was like, wow, that's so narrow-minded. And it put things into a different perspective for me in terms of why they say some of the stuff that they say and why they rule in the way that they rule. Because it's like, that's literally all they know.
Well, it's just like anything, right? I mean, when we talk about homogenized environments in any sort of way, we talk about the loss of diversity of thought, right? You can't think diversely. I mean, you can, but who are you even going to bounce ideas off of if you are in a situation where there's just absolutely no outreach or influx from people on the outside?
Where's the reciprocal conversation?
There can't be one.
So her experience, even just getting to these hearings, it's so vast. And then of course she talks about how
they might experience not getting the black Amex card.
I'm gonna get that card. I am getting that card. But
that someone's just gonna think you stole it anyway.
I know, right? So there is this experience, her parents being, blue collar is probably a horrible way to describe them, but that's what I'm going to say because I think it fits in this conversation. So her parents are these blue collar workers, and she speaks about having people in her family on both sides of the law. Whether they were police officers or detectives or, which is a bullshit charge, but her uncle in jail for life because of drugs. But she just has this really, really, her uncle who actually has to serve the time versus, Biff, whose dad knew somebody who knew somebody or probably was the judge and was like, oh no, this could be a detriment to his future. We can't have that on his record. Let's just send him, to the Maldives for a summer and everyone will forget all about it. And then he can come back and clerk.
You donate to somebody's endowment somewhere,
right.
And look, things magically poof right away.
Right. So the thing that I think that one of the things that she said that struck me, she was, well, first of all, who's that guy with no neck? Mitch. Mitch was, just all aghast. Well, these certainly weren't as challenging as what Kavanaugh went through. Kavanaugh's a freaking rapist.
Kavanaugh had a grown-ass man temper tantrum on international television. He asked people if they liked beer. He behaved. If my son at 16 acted like I would reach through the screen, I'd be like,
He would
See,
feel
that
it.
the light was like, you are right.
He would feel it.
There is no way my kid would get away with acting like that. And this man, he went ahead and became a Supreme Court justice. And P.S., he is so far below KBJ in terms of qualifications. It's actually laughable that she would want to sit at the same table as him.
Right.
And Amy Coney Barrett, oh, poor critter.
What does she have, like, some adopted Black kids that she tries to, like?
Yeah, you know. Yes. Look what we got. Ooh, a brown one. Yeah, I again, and when Mitch said that, and when Mitch, or whichever one of the ding dongs, talked about how hard Amy Coney Barrett's grilling was, it's not even close. Nobody screamed at Amy Coney Barrett. It did not happen. And the questions about religion that she was asked were appropriate because she leads with her religion. Her whole ethos is about her relationship with God, and therefore it's up for scrutiny. I did not think KBJ's should have been up for scrutiny because, again, it's impertinent.
So here we go.
Where are we going?
Chairman Senator Dick Durbin gavelled, saying the senator's time had expired. You can bang it as long as you want, Cruz said to the chairman. So while you're questioning the next most likely confirmed Supreme Court justice, you can't even follow the rules.
When does Ted Cruz follow the rule? I mean, there's a rule like that. There's a rule that you protect your wife. He didn't follow that one. There's a rule that when you are governing over a state or a representative of a state and there's a disaster, you're not like, hey, man, I'm the first one off the ship. Peace. You don't do that. Ted Cruz has no character.
No.
He has no character.
And so she has to sit there, and of course by now everyone has seen this picture floating around the internet where she's sitting there, and if you're a Black woman, you know the look. You know the look. The look is, these white MFers, and I still have to sit here with grace, tenacity, but you can't be angry Black women.
Oh, heaven forbid.
It's like
Kavanaugh can be like, fear. And she has to sit there while they actually work to assassinate her character and be like, you know what? Whatever you say bounces off me and goes back to you. I mean, it's gross.
And did I miss anything? Has there been some egregious thing that she's done in her past? Did I miss something?
No.
Did she tie somebody up and leave them in the basement? Did she, I'm just, you know, because one of the comments made during Kavanaugh's hearings were, well, why did these women wait so late to come forward?
Yeah, well, again, this has been gone over 692,500 times. Women don't come forward because of what you saw happen to, I cannot remember her name right now, but the primary accuser of Kavanaugh. The way she was disregarded and lambasted and all of these things. That's why women don't come forward, period. Why would somebody who's already been victimized want to go through that again? So,
but we can take that back to R. Kelly. We can take
not R. Kelly again, that guy.
We can take it back to the point where there is a documentary filmed while a mother is trying to get her daughter back, and he still isn't being arrested. They're literally filming a documentary, he is arrested now and files, charges have been filed, and now he's on the East Coast because they got to deal with him on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
But they're literally able to film a documentary of just women, girls, because they were underage girls who are just being abused by him. They can film an entire documentary of this woman trying to find her daughter, and he's still throwing concerts.
Well,
and people are still showing up to the concerts.
Well, and again, it's like what we said last week when we were talking about Kardashian as well. At the end of the day, women aren't heard.
Correct.
And even when we're looking at women that are going to be heard, it's certainly not any woman with any sort of tint to her skin color, and that is an issue as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, hi sissy. When we take a look at it and we look at the treatment, you go through Instagram, right, or Facebook or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and you see people saying, "I can't believe they spoke to her that way," and this was me. Of course they did. You know why? Because this is what happens. This is what we know. We know that very often Black women are disrespected,
Mm-hmm.
disregarded, maligned, cast aside, all of these things. We're so used to it. Even break it down to the fact that you look at her qualifications, she's beyond reproach, but people still want to hang on to the discussion that started the whole thing with Biden saying he was going to appoint or support, or whatever the word is, I'm tired, the first Black female Supreme Court justice. Those on the other side of things are very, very quick to harp on the fact that is discriminatory, that is wrong, that is, she's a sympathy hire. And, again, if you look at her qualifications, you would be lucky to get that kind of sympathy.
So Jackson,
she's got the notepad. She's ready to roll.
I do, because this is, I'm all about her because she's 51. No, I'm all about her because she's amazing. Jackson is the first federal public defender to be nominated to the Supreme Court, and her efforts representing those accused of crimes, alongside her work as a federal judge, have provided a lengthy record of difficult cases for senators to review. Oh, you got to do some work. Republicans have particularly focused on the emotional and disputed debate over the judge's sentences for child pornography offenders to portray her as soft on crime. Critics say she brings too much empathy to the law.
Karen says, the point is that the pool of highly qualified people with those characteristics is wide and deep.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real shame that it's easy for people to look beyond that.
Well, if she brings too much empathy to the law, it's because the people that she has to preside over in terms of a case, they actually made it to the courtroom. Good, bad, right, or wrong. What about all of the people, let's go back to that upper echelon, who never even had to step foot in a courtroom for someone to have or to not have empathy for them? So
I remember too,
we keep cutting out big chunks of.
But there's a bigger piece than that, though. This was the mud that they were throwing, but I believe it was in the Wall Street Journal, which is not known for its liberal antics, let's just say. But they said that, when you break down her record, when you break down her
Mhm.
record, she comes down right in the middle of the sentencing guidelines, which, you know, isn't that what judges are there to do? They're supposed to look critically at what's before them and make that decision. Are we saying that this woman with all these accomplishments, who's done all of these things, can't make a good decision? I beg to differ.
She speaks to that. Judges can't make law. Judges shouldn't be policymakers.
Ooh, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. So a friend just pinged this article to me.
Ping, 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 pew, pew.
Justice Clarence Thomas's wife, Virginia, who, in my opinion, has had way too much attachment to all of the things going on. She, in her position as the wife of a Supreme Court justice, should not be. I mean, the impropriety is everywhere. I digress. Wait. She texted the Trump chief of staff to overturn the election.
Yeah.
We're talking about this woman's qualifications. We're talking about the fact that everything that she has done, said, etc., has been above board. They could not find dirt on her.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to go digging into the garbage cans of nonsense, temper tantrums, standing up and walking out, like channeling their inner Kavanaugh, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham. And this is what we've got going on the side. She is above reproach. Twice as talented. What is it? Twice as talented, half as
old.
No, I can't remember. I'm tired.
And that's the thing, right? We know this. We know this. This is the conversation that we were having when Misty was here, because Erin, our friend, I don't know if Erin is on here. Erin is white, and she was on the Howard campus, and she was exclaiming how she had never seen students who were so, even at that level and at that age, representing themselves to such a standard and the level of professionalism. And then Tasha, you guys know her, RX doc. Tasha went to Xavier, and it's the same thing. You must be that person. So if you're in nursing school at an HBCU, you are dressed in your nurse whites. Tasha was a PharmD, or going through the PharmD program, so she had to dress business casual, which Erin was like, really? No showing up in sweats and a baseball cap? No, not at an HBCU.
In fact, your professors will pull you over to the side, she said, and say, that's what you want to put out there? Now, I went to college. In fact, I went to several because, couldn't really make up my mind, kept getting injured, all this stuff, whatever. I can't tell you that other than, there being an important event and people had to dress for whatever reason, or they had to go somewhere after school and wouldn't have time to change. I can't tell you that I saw people dress. I've seen more pajamas worn as daytime wardrobe choices on college campuses.
Like that's why Uggs were made. I feel like Uggs were made for.
Yeah, exactly. But you can't get away from that at an HBCU because it's the whole twice as talented, half as.
You're establishing that standard from the moment you step into school. So, in a nod to her views, Jackson disclosed that if confirmed, she would recuse herself from hearing an affirmative action case at Harvard University, her alma mater, where she now serves on Harvard's board of overseers. She's snatching y'all before y'all even snatch you, before you even get to say something. And
did Clarence Thomas recuse himself?
No.
From the several cases that he should have recused himself on? No. Did Gorsuch? No.
No.
Again, it's the what is it? Forget it. I can't think of it.
And the whole thing about the child pornography thing is, and that, that's where she speaks a lot about that's where she speaks a lot about we can't change the law. And we were speaking about this when we were talking about the kid from Antioch who went over to Wisconsin, and because of his actions, he ended up shooting. But we were speaking about that. Why is he considered, not guilty? And it's like, this is what the law says.
Right.
And so if you're sitting on a jury and someone says, oh, well, he's guilty. And then they go, well, what does the law say? The law will break it down circumstance by circumstance. So
right.
Again, the arguments are about, and the proclivities of white men. We know that the vast majority of those who decide to dive into child pornography are middle-aged white men. We've heard it. We know that is the overwhelming. It doesn't mean that other people don't do it, but we know that is the overwhelming group that is involved in child pornography. So it's so interesting the things that they are choosing to poke or attempt to try to poke holes in, because they are literally representative of the very people they're asking her, or they told her she should have been tougher on. They literally fit that people group.
It doesn't matter. It had nothing to do with child pornography or any of that. Again, this was, and it's a shame that, again, this hearing was used more as political theater and presidential candidate grandstanding than it was, again, this is another opportunity for the people, the general public, to watch their government do what it's supposed to do. And since we don't see much of that anyway, I mean, yet another lost opportunity. This was a time where you could hear more about how the courts functioned, and they could have done a whole lot with it. And instead, they wanted to make it Jerry Springer courtroom edition. Like, it was ridiculous.
So Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican, South Carolina, picked up the arguments anew, arguing that Jackson as a judge should have imposed tougher sentences on child porn defendants rather than applying other deterrents, despite fact checkers and other experts who have said the terms Jackson handed down are within norms of federal guidelines.
That's what I said. Exactly. Yeah.
Those fact checkers. And so then his response was, put their asses in jail. Oh, okay. Since all of you guys across the country seem to be running rampant with your sexual harassment.
We have laws. And even judges are supposed to follow them. Now, granted, certain people can shimmy sham around the law and the way the law is supposed to be enacted. But again, that should not be the expectation. The expectation should be that the law is carried out according to the letter of the law, period. So what Graham was basically saying is, this makes me uncomfortable. You should have done something that maybe skirted the edge of the law a little bit, whatever. I would have felt better if well, nobody gives a shit about you, Lindsey Graham. You don't get to say. That's not the way it works. Lindsey Graham needs to have several seats, Sissy says, and I think the seats should be someplace very, very uncomfortable.
It's, again, you have to be 3 times better. You have to sit there with a flow chart and anticipate any possible fork in the road, any possible, people just throwing axes at you. And you have to, and this is just all on her walls and on her ceilings. Well, there was this case, and okay, let me have and when while she's doing And so her colleagues speak very highly of her. First of all, her colleagues speak very highly of her, but she's doing and working with the letter of the law. She is upholding the law as the judge. But you have an issue, GOP has an issue with the sentences that she handed down that were well within the framework of the law. But you're criticizing the woman who came forth about Kavanaugh's behavior.
It's because GOP doesn't have any issues with the sentencing. GOP doesn't have any issues with anything. Right. They don't. I mean, like, let's just cut to the quick. It has nothing to do with any of that. If you take a look at the tone and tenor of everything that's going on in this country right now, it's just another example of banning books. But this time they're trying to keep a person that is making history live in real time from the possibility of doing so. And they know that she, like you said, like you opened with, they know she's going to get the seat. So this is essentially like when your little kid is fighting going to bed
in the Target,
or yes, melting down at Target for sure, and you know, you're like, you're going to continue to act like a savage, but in the end I'm going to win. And then it's just acting like a savage for the sake of being ridiculous. And that's where we are in our government right now.
So Cory Booker.
Oh, Cory Booker. Anybody see Cory Booker last night? Show of hands. I mean, he was brilliant. He's very, very intense. I think maybe a little bit of Xanax would be good for him. Because sometimes...
But I'm going to read this and then I'm going to make a comment.
The whole thing, because it was long.
No, just the highlights. It's just a highlight. Today, you're my star. You're my harbinger of hope. And when that final vote happens and you ascend onto the highest court in the land, I am going to rejoice. And I'm going to tell you right now, the greatest country in the world, the United States of America, will be better because of you. So I had this conversation with a friend of mine because what you just said was about the firsts and trying to steal this thunder. When we talk about putting a man on the moon, and when we talk about these really kind of pivotal moments in history, it wasn't that Black people weren't there. They weren't allowed to be in that position.
Erasure.
And so I love space. I absolutely adore space. And
it's the final frontier.
It is. And the US brought in Black candidates for NASA because Cuba had Black candidates. Not because they felt like these people were qualified. It had nothing to do with them. And they found every way that they could to belittle them. It's when you don't get a chance to be this thing. It's not that we didn't exist when Neil Armstrong landed with his footprints still up there. We were never gonna be allowed to do that.
100%.
It didn't, it didn't matter what our footprints or how well we put a flag on the moon. It didn't matter. There's so many things that we were omitted from in terms of the ability to be first. Even with booze.
Take
a Black
off the
man,
first part. Take off the first part. The ability to be acknowledged for even being in that space in the first place.
Right.
Because, again, look at Hidden Figures. Look at what those women achieved. But look at how they were kept. Their story was kept so removed from the story. And I wouldn't be surprised if that book isn't one of the books that's being banned across the country right now. again, and you have to ask yourself, if the history is so great, if the nation is so fabulous, then why do you want to hide it? Why don't you want to tell the truth? Why don't you want the truth to be out there if it really, really mattered? And Slow Boy says, fear of Black excellence. I mean,
it's that's a component of it. But if you listen to some scholars and academics as of late, Suni, our boy Suni was talking about this. There is no white standard. The white standard seems to be to push everyone down. Now, of course, I am not speaking of individuals. I am speaking of
the collective
and the old guard. The white standard is not to excel and achieve excellence. It is to keep everyone beneath them so that they can live in mediocrity.
But that
they just have the wealth to do it.
I was going to say, I don't necessarily know that that's simply about race. I absolutely do believe, however, that is a classism piece that,
yes.
It goes back to the Bible creating these hierarchies of class and using them to then oppress people. And so, when we talk about that as a standard, I think it goes beyond race is the easy part. If you keep people toiling and spinning around like dust weevils over race, they're not paying attention to the fact that, hey, like Susie Cream Cheese and her family are being oppressed too.
Right.
They don't care about that, just as long as that guy with the extra tint isn't getting ahead of them. And it's a juvenile argument. But it's so easy. It's so easy because at the end of the day, the human animal is extremely tribal or pack oriented, and that's what's happening. So let's be honest about it. Let's just call it what it is. Race is the low hanging fruit, but at the end of the day, it's the American oligarchs that want to get on top of things.
Right.
And
it's not that Oprah and Obama and
wait, I hear Oprah talking now because we can all hear each other.
It's not that these people are anomalies. These people are not anomalies. No, it's Susie Cream Cheese.
Yes, she's not cheesecake. Sorry.
She's cream cheese. Because she's not sweet.
No.
It's these, but we are led to believe that these, these particular Black people, they were bestowed upon, the magic from the heavens came down and said, you get to be special. No, there are whole swaths of Black people that are just normal, everyday, you're a good person, you're a great person, you have a super intellect, you go out and do great things. But they like to try to, like, oh, Obama is such a great guy. But he would have been a great guy if he was a ditch digger. That's just who he is.
Right.
He wasn't like this exceptionally great guy. There's a lot of Black men like Obama who were exceptionally great guys. It's not about race. It's about position. And what's happening is, how you see, like, the zombies in the barricade and the police swear the barricade is going to hold. And you're like, yeah, dude, there's like a billion zombies back there. The barricades are breaking. People are pushing through and going, no, we're not just a bunch of, mediocre mutts waiting for you to tell us what to do and to tell us who we are.
But,
and so, yeah.
I was just going to say, I mean, yeah, that's 100% happening, but the weaponization of race and class has been done so well. The former leader did a phenomenal job of re-emphasizing and reinforcing the separation and the division, and then just said, release the hounds. And so for all of the boundaries that are being pushed upon to the point of potential destruction, you have people that are, like I said, weaponized and prepared to uphold the status quo, even through violence, January 6th, while the elite, again, sit back and say, oh, look at what we've done. And when I say the elite, listen, dude, I don't want any messages later. I have no problem with wealth. I don't. No. I feel like if you work your balls off, you deserve everything that you work hard for. And I personally think that you get to a point where you have a responsibility to give back. But, you know, if you're a Bezos and all you can do is fly to space in a space penis, you know, I guess that's okay. Eventually there's innovation there that'll go to the people, I hope. But so when I say the term elite, I'm framing a particular part of the population that has deemed itself the most important and the most special and coronated themselves. And they therefore are making sure that they stay in the positions that they're in. Mm-hmm. And we in the United States have a tendency to see this kind of behavior in other nations and say, oh, that's bad. Oh, that's terrible. And it's happening right here under our noses. Yes. And you know what we say? Oh, well, you know, that's just our political process.
And it's not, because we know that the political process has been morphed and shifted and changed and washed and bleached and washed again. And, you know, it's sort of like, for me, and I remember where I was when my kid's dad and I, when we went to go vote and for President Obama, and my 14-year-old was in a carrier, and it was just a very proud moment. And it honestly, I mean, it mattered if he won or lost, but it was the idea that he was on the ballot. And going there, and any Black person that you made eye contact with, you know, Blackish, it was the nod. It was like, oh, yeah. And that's what we're feeling for KBJ. And it's like, oh, she's there.
I think it's different.
And then because she is so just unequivocally qualified, it's not sympathy. It's not affirmative action. She is ridiculously qualified to take her place amongst that group of people. She's more than qualified.
And that's why I think this is different from Obama, at least Obama election 1 versus Obama election 2. In my opinion, don't you give me that face, by the way, you better not. In my opinion, Obama didn't win that election as much as John McCain lost it because of all the shenanigans that they were doing, giving us Sarah Palin. What the hell is that? And on top of it, in my opinion, because knowing, I'm sorry, that woman anyway, knowing that he did not have the qualifications on the world stage, even domestically, that his opposition had, I was very concerned that putting him in was going to make it a lot harder for anybody else down the road. So I wasn't super jazzed about Obama as a candidate, and I still stand by that. Now, second time around, different story. I think considering what he did to navigate us through the economic crisis that was going on at the time, and other things that he did, listen, love it, hate it, you didn't have to love the ACA. The ACA changed people's lives, period. And he was not letting that go. Should have stuck on the mandates and some of the other things. Different story. Compared to KBJ, who literally is so far overqualified to be on this court. Yes. The only other person on that court with the same level of qualifications is Justice Breyer, the guy that she's going to replace. So, I mean, when I break it down and I look at it, I do think it's a little bit different. But at the end of the day, and the reason why I point that out is because she really is here She's so far above what Obama was doing. I'm not even necessarily sure the Democrats weren't trying to sacrifice Obama back then, to be honest, either. She can't be touched.
Right.
That's the difference to me.
You know, I don't disagree with you in terms of his preparedness, but being in the city that he lived in while it was going on was electrifying. I worked at the club. I worked at the club that that Michelle would play tennis. And, you know, there was like this one little weird parking spot, because it's in a weird neighborhood in Chicago. It's like, the intersection is rated like an F. It's like the worst intersection on planet Earth. But, you know, there would be like these 4 black Suburbans, you know, and she was going in and he'd be at the other club, playing basketball with, I can't remember his name. It's a Greek guy who was one of our politicos in the city. But being in the city that he was from, it was electrifying. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of hope. And maybe he was a little green, but the hope and just the joy that he brought people, I think, definitely had a lot of value. And he still brings people joy. But you are correct. There is no question that she is qualified for this position. Hell, she's overqualified. Is there something above the Supreme Court? Because
Courtroom Jesus.
She's incredibly qualified. And yes, I think someone just wrote that she's been handling everything with an incredible amount of grace. She's been doing this for years. She did not get to where she was by flying off the handle and cursing people out. You know, she probably just stood there and looked at them for like 10 seconds. And then continued. I mean, and that's what you have to do. That's practiced. She's been practicing that. She went to Harvard. She practiced that.
Through every stage of her career, I'm sure there has been a lot of this. So she has had a lot of practice. She's still only 51, might we remind you again. But again, you get used to, and this is what people don't understand. When you're in a position as an othered person, so it's not even just color, there's so many other ways to be othered. When you are in the position yes, Coach Robin, absolutely. When you're in that position, you have worked to get there, and you sure as hell are not going to piss it away by doing the wrong thing. Now, how she doesn't have that involuntary eyeball roll that I suffer from, I've been waiting for Merck or Pfizer to come out with a medication for it. But alas, how she manages to do it for 13 hours. I mean, when I get tired, you know, my words, my F-bombs start flying, my eyes start rolling. It just gets ugly. Yeah. But she's done it so much so often. She has had to squash herself into this place without making herself small, which is another issue. She's just well skilled.
Yes. And now that we sit in this space, I want to go back because I want to read Flow Boy. Flow Boy, who are you? Tell me who you are. Who is Flow Boy, Misty?
I don't know who Flow Boy is, but we need to know because Flow Boy is out here with it today.
Yeah, and I can't. Okay, there we go. Okay, this is a huge thing. I'm gonna try to. Okay, when you subjugate a people for 400 plus years through a system of white supremacy, it's pretty inevitable that you're going to be slightly living in fear of retribution, no doubt. And we talk about this. The woman Kim, she had a thing that went viral after George Floyd, and she spoke about very, very, very clearly and matter-of-factly, isn't it a good thing that Black people don't want vengeance? We want equity.
Yeah.
I absolutely, Flowboy, I absolutely believe what you're saying, because where is that line? Where is that line? You know, between police busting into people's houses. Oh, oops, my bad, wrong house. Oh, your address isn't even listed on the warrant. Oops, my bad. It's very careless. And it's almost like it's okay for police to be careless. It's okay for white men to drive around and say that guy fits the description, even though there really isn't a guy for a description to
Forget
fit.
that. Karens, some of these Karen situations, it's okay to be a Karen because there's no retribution. And there's no accountability.
There's no accountability. And that was another thing that was on TikTok, where there's a Black woman. I feel like maybe Heather posted it. And she's speaking about how it is expected that white women are going to be fragile. It is expected that when they're, oh, I'm in this tough situation that I created and I'm going to cry. And she speaks about how the world is conditioned to respond.
No, that was Aaliyah. Sunni's Aaliyah.
Oh, you're right.
Yes.
And how the world is conditioned to respond to a white woman crying, but will completely ignore a Black woman crying.
And we could be crying over the exact same issue, by the way.
Yes. And then while you're realizing your culpability in heinous circumstances, then you want the person that you've offended or hurt or harmed or denigrated, you want that person to hold your hand and make it all right for you.
And say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm sorry you have pain.
And so she has done this. KBJ has done this every step of the way. Even her being in Little Shop of Horrors. She has done this every step of the way, and she's gotten to where she is. No one has handed her anything. Not even a stick of gum with the wrapper turned into origami swan. She did everything. You know the extra commercials? She did everything. And she has a family, and she has people who love her, and she has people who stand behind her and go, you got this. Because you've had it, because you did it all this way. Now step into that light. Who are you not to be the brightest star? Marianne Williamson's one of my favorite speeches. Marianne Williamson, not so much. She has her issues, but she wrote a brilliant.
She's a bit of a character, that one.
She is. Brian Bullard writes, what the Republicans are doing is setting up campaign points for upcoming elections. They don't have anything else to campaign on. Well, they could change, because, you know, other countries laugh at us because our Supreme Court justices are lifelong positions. Other countries are like,
ridiculous. Yeah.
Other countries are like, what are you doing? Why would you let somebody sit there for all that time? But now they have a quagmire, because if they change that, or if anyone suggested it be changed, which is actually a good idea, she might not be the first person to go. It might be all the Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs people, Brett Kavanaugh, that are on there that you impose limits on. So it's.
And how old is Kavanaugh? 27? I mean, he's gonna be on the Supreme Court forever, and that is disgusting.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say. Sorry.
And RBG tried valiantly, and I think, you know, she probably shone a little light on KBJ and was like, here you go, this one over here. no, over here. No, this one. Right here.
But it's a shame when you're trying to Weekend at Bernie's style a Supreme Court justice stay alive. I know you've given so much of your life. You've been a fighter. You've done all this, but you know what?
You're essentially dying. You have cancer.
Can we dose you up with like turpentine and battery fluid to keep you alive long enough to get through this election so we can do that? it's a ridiculous ask in a system that is absolutely ridiculous. And the way to fix it is to get these people out of lifetime appointments. It's bullshit. It's completely ridiculous.
Yes. It's unnecessary, and it's actually counterproductive to how we have presidents. We know that presidents can serve a maximum of 8 years. But you have in place something that essentially thwarts states and the president's power, in a sense. Because they can just stay there and they can just block. You know, and so it's, I mean, all of it. The senators, you know, congressmen, senators, all of it.
Yeah.
They were never supposed to be paid. It was supposed to be volunteer. You do this, you serve your country, and then you go back into the private sector or wherever you came from. They were never supposed to just sit there.
Yeah. It was not supposed to be about lifetime, and it was not supposed to be about creating wealth.
No.
So, you know, again, we talk about the system and this and that, and what is it, corrupt? No, but it's been, yes, actually, but it has been corrupted and bastardized.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think when people are saying, oh, well, no, we can't make changes, blah, blah, blah. The Constitution is not a living, breathing document. Oh, yeah? Well, we've been running the country on a lot of handshakes and gentlemen's agreements. That's not working anymore.
No.
It didn't really work in the first place, let's be honest, but it's really not working now. And we are seeing all the flaws. And we've got one party that is more than content to exploit them. And we've got another party that is more than content to sit on their hands. And at the end of the day, they're all playing the same sides. Different sides. Yes, different sides of the same coin. That's what's happening. It's working for them. They're getting ahead on it.
And did I just read? I don't know if Harmony, if you're still on, if you see this, they changed. The military has changed or will be changing the criteria for soldiers or incoming soldiers into the military in terms of weight, boot camp, and age.
I did not see that. Do tell.
I oh my gosh, I have to see if I can find that. I don't know when the conversation started. I think that it's an interesting time because I just read this like yesterday. I read this yesterday. And so is this because of Russia invading Ukraine? Because we're heading towards a draft? Because I will get my ass in my car and drive my kids to Canada. But you deciding that, you know, you do have to be in a certain shape to be in the military. Are we downgrading because we know that the average American wouldn't make it through boot camp? And let's say the average age appropriate, you know, I mean, you know, I'm not talking about a 60, 70-year-old man, but if you talk about that 18 to 35 age range, they don't. In the land of entitlement, most people don't realize in this country, boot camp is to get you to understand you actually aren't the boss.
I'm just going to put a pause flag up there.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody in Ukraine is saying, sorry, 60, 70, 80-year-old man, you can't work to save our freedom. You're just too old. There's a pasture, go lay down in it. Nobody is saying that over there. You know why? Because those people have a sense of national pride that we do not have here.
No.
And I'm not saying I can blame us. And if anybody has a problem with that statement, feel free to send me a note. We can have a debate. But at the end of the day, you know, instituting a draft only affects the people that can't buy their way out of a draft.
Exactly.
This is why and I think we might have talked about this before, but I may have dreamt it actually, so I'm not sure. Compulsory service. Lots of other countries have compulsory service. We don't have compulsory service. We don't have compulsory service because there are certain people in this country that aren't supposed to serve.
Mm-hmm.
That is our social hierarchy. Again, it's yet another way to make sure that certain people are here and other people are here. So, I mean, you can change the size and the this and the that of the people that serve. But if you look at military enrollment over the years, it's definitely dwindled quite a bit. And why is that? Well, there's 1,000 reasons. There's no video games on the battlefield. And I would not, if my son told me he was enrolling in the military, he would wake up in an unknown locale.
Pull the bag up. Where am I?
Where am I? And then he'd be like, oh, this is a beach. I'm fine. That's my kid. He likes luxuries. He'd be like, are there any bath bombs there? I'm just saying. If you make it for everyone, it's one thing. But I will not allow my child to be exploited while somebody else's child over there can sit and have cream puffs and bonbons and watch the theater as my child and other children that look like him are blown to bits.
So
he can do the chair force, Harmony said. Yes, he could do the chair force. He'd be great at that.
They are bringing the standards current. They are bringing it because apparently the military body mass, weight, height ratio hasn't changed in 200 years. So one of the, which I think is kind of a lot, it says a 6-foot male, a 22-year-old male soldier who is 6 feet tall, for example, can weigh up to 195 pounds.
Well, that's dumb.
A 19-year-old female soldier who is 5 feet tall can weigh up to 128 pounds.
Still dumb.
And so it says, but soldiers have said the existing standards are outdated and don't account for changing body types, especially considering it's based on body mass index,
which is
scale
crap.
That was created roughly 200 years ago and which experts say is inaccurate.
100%.
So, and it's, yeah, it's because we don't have, what did you call it, Misty? I just, the name, just where you have to serve, like in Israel.
Compulsory service.
Compulsory service, thank you. Because we don't have that, and I may be in the minority on this, like I actually don't think it's a bad idea. And the reason, I wouldn't start it now, but it's something that, like you said, there's a level of
Carrie said, what? My husband was 6 foot, 200 pounds, all booty. Well, damn. Just saying, we might need some pictures.
No, I mean, it's something that we should have done because it's something that gives people a sense of pride, and that's what you are seeing amongst Ukrainians.
You can't do that when people can claim bone spurs and get out of it. You can't do that. You can't do that because what that is saying is, I come from money, this, that, the next thing. I'm going to get out of it. I'm going to get a doctor. How many people tried to get out of getting vaccinated because they got a doctor to write them a note?
Right.
No, we can't have nice things. We can't.
And, you know, the thing of it is that the world sees us. And the world sees what we do and how we do it and how hodgepodge it is and how in a lot of ways we are lacking. And because there isn't that basic level of camaraderie of, I'm an American, I live in the United States. There is a I mean, again, it's such a challenging place to speak from because, again, we know that the African students in Ukraine were pushed to the back and told to fight for not their country. And you know, it just slaps you upside the head sometimes, and you take a step back and you go, damn, you know, we're just food for fodder wherever we go. And then you go, here's the deal. I want to be really extra crispy clear. I don't want my kids serving in the military because people try to act like what happened to Black soldiers from the moment they enlisted, from the moment they were allowed to enlist. People try to act like that was like, you know, 500 years ago. No, it wasn't.
It's still happening.
It's still happening. Vietnam was a debacle, and it destroyed Black families.
Well,
Black men came back to this country.
A lot of families. I mean, yes, it did destroy Black families, but across the board, our soldiers who went and fought a war that they did not create but had to take accountability for by fighting it, came back here and were treated like lepers, were not given any sort of care. People want to talk about the homeless situation. A lot of people on the streets right now today are there because they fought in that war and were not given the care that they needed. Why would we send our children out to that? And P.S.
Exactly.
Slip in here real quick before I forget it. You were talking about, ooh, that's getting a little spicy there. Let me calm down for a second. But you were talking about pride in their country in Ukraine, or maybe I was talking about what this was, but you know who has pride in their country? You know who said they loved their country and wanted to do what they could to support it? KBJ.
Yep.
She sat there through that steaming pile of bullshit that was being thrown at her, and she still addressed it that way. Yes, adult temper tantrums. She still, because I would have been like, you guys can take your, I'm leaving. I'll be back tomorrow. Okay, goodbye.
But she has, there's her space and her position and the air that she breathes is so much bigger, and she knows. I think that's the thing that I think that just really resonates with me, and that I think it's just there. She knows how important this is. She knows. She knows who's watching. It's every little brown baby that's going, ooh. She knows.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what she's thinking about when Ted Cruz is having a tantrum and, you know, people are wanting to pass around beers. She knows that her position on that court is so much bigger than what will become that brief moment in time.
For sure.
And that's what we have to do. Like, that's what we have to do. And those are the choices that we have to make. And sometimes you have to sit there. You know, I'm in the process of doing it right now. I have a person who told me that they were going to do one thing, and I'm like, no, I need you to do that thing, and told me he was going to do it a month and a half ago. And I'm trying to schedule an appointment with my kid's future school counselor, and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, so then I have to do all the things, and then I have to email like 6 people, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to email everybody so that we're all on the same page, because this is the page I'm on and this is the book that I'm in. So we all need to join me.
Right.
And I have to think about what I'm saying and how I'm saying it so that I get my point across, that I'm not going anywhere. This is what I want, but as not to sound threatening.
Yeah.
You
because
know,
heaven
and
forbid,
so you have to,
heaven forbid.
Yeah. Heaven forbid fighting for my son will make you feel uneasy.
Oh, poor you.
And so now I'm jumping through these hoops because Aries has decided he wants to graduate as a junior. Well, we can't decide that as a sophomore.
Nope.
We have to know what that looks like.
Yeah.
No, why? Nope. We have to know. Yes, we have to know this and plan starting this summer. And so I'm like, okay, so now they're like, oh, yeah. And they give me these times to meet after spring break. And I'm like, okay, see, y'all can play this game. Y'all can play this game. And I will ride along, and I'll have my little spinners and my little noisemakers, but I'm still gonna get it my way. And I will schmooze you, and I will cheese, and I will smile in your face, and but it's a skill and a talent, and sometimes you just don't feel like doing it.
No, because we're adults.
But for someone in her right. And for someone in her position, yes, from where she's come to where she is, she's very well versed. And she's done it brilliantly.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm excited, and I can't wait.
And
she's only 51.
Stop saying it. I want to address what Karen said here about talking about Vietnam. She said a friend of hers would say, I got my ass shot off for a war no one cared about. He lost his legs. I know people that went to Desert Storm, whatever it was called, where they were, they had those big piles of crap that they were burning, because you didn't want to fly back home or leave sensitive stuff for the locals to get a hold of in Iraq. So they would just make these giant piles and burn this, computer components and plastics and all this stuff. And so many of those soldiers have come back with cancer and other random ailments, and not like a normal cancer, but all the strange blood and bone cancers that you get when it's definitely exposure to things that just shouldn't be happening. And if you know anyone that's dealt with the VA for more than 12 and a half seconds, what we value, how we value our veterans. Can't do it.
And the work that you have to do and the hoops that you have to jump through. I do deal with the VA because my father is a vet and he gets a lot of his medical care there. It's been pretty decent for him, but getting access to his records and getting everything compiled into the new computerized system, it's probably not new, but it's sort of my first foray into it. It's very challenging. It's very daunting. And it's not something that my father, as an almost 85-year-old man, there's no way he could navigate this.
No, it's impossible. It's really impossible.
And if anyone knows a veteran who is injured or had some kind of something, regardless of how minor, there's a settlement. Please go help your people. Please
Carrie, we can talk about this all day for sure. Sorry, go ahead.
Please get your people and get them started. They should be able to pull all medical records and computerize it and get them their benefits, because it's there, it's real. I have family members who are doing it, and they are now receiving benefits from settlements from things that they encountered while they served. And he didn't just serve last year. Look at deadlines, look at dates, especially if you have younger people coming out of the service, so that they don't lose their GI benefits, because the deadlines are kind of sneaky. And then all of a sudden you don't have access to those monies to go to school or for your kids to go to school. Don't wait.
And PS, it should never expire. There should not be deadlines. If you served, you served. Period. I mean, what? So did I not serve because you put a deadline on my ability to collect on a benefit that should be there for me universally? Because if I did the time, if I put myself at risk to represent this great nation, then why is there an expiration date on it?
Well, I'll give it to you.
To
It is. So my father left the military in 55. My father will be 85 in July. It's 30 years of benefits that he won't be able to go back and get. We have to start him from where he is right now.
I know.
And
I know how it works.
It's money. Yeah, it's money. I mean, he gets his medical care, but if you know someone, like, don't put that on the bottom of the to-do list. Go in right now and figure it out, because a lot of it is date oriented from the date that you started certain things. So don't put it off. Go do it, because it's huge. And it's theirs for their service.
Earned it. It is a sin. Hey, speaking of putting off, we are somehow over an hour and they haven't booted us yet, but I know it's coming. We're going to have to split. Carrie says, it's so sad. Fight for your family and do it like you said. Yes, 100%. If you've got somebody young going in, like Nicky said, if you got somebody young going in that's really dedicated to doing it, that's great. Power to them. Make sure they are aware, because they don't tell the truth at all. Those, aside from the recruiters not telling the truth, they don't tell you the truth when you get out. They don't tell you the truth, period. I know how this works. Nicky knows how this works. It's a scam.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying,
I will tell you this.
Your loves.
I will tell you this, and I will try to get little tidbits as I learn more, but I do know that Tuskegee in Alabama has the only Black VA administration. So,
well, I mean, they certainly couldn't have kept the last
guy.
Why
is that important?
Didn't go so
well. It's important because there were specific things that we know about Tuskegee, because we have to go back and see. So if there is anything psychologically that one of your family members, remember I told you my dad got out of the service in 55, so that's my frame of reference. If there's anything psychological that someone older that you know suffered, there has to be proof that that was going on. One of the best places to look for it is going to be in the only Black VA in the country. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about Black soldiers who were put in different boot camps because they are special and they need extra. So just things like that. The more I find out, the more I will bring to you. But one thing that I do know is it's date sensitive, and watch the dates. And if you know someone coming out of the service, they need to get certain access by a certain time for certain levels of benefits. I did not serve in the service. This is all of me helping my dad. So
yeah, Nicole Peterson says that she's a vet and what we speak is true. And Karen's Pilates Corner says, and they beat into you the whole time you're in not to take the money. Isn't that convenient? Don't get me started. Oh, wait, I was already started. Don't get me restarted, because we got to go. Because Instagram is mean to us.
We do.
Mean. But
we'll keep this conversation going.
100%. It's a great conversation, and it's an important conversation. And those of you that have been here with us, whether you just got here, you've been here the whole time, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have a guest next week on Friday. So if you're in Florida and a vet, move now. If you're in Florida, move now, actually, just in general. But next Friday, guys. So 1 p.m. next Friday. We thank you for being here and listening to us, because we love it and we adore you. And see you then. I hate leaving in the middle of a good conversation.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.
It feels so wrong.
I know, that
wrong.
was a good conversation.
I know. Bye, guys. Happy weekend.
Just